Okay. I gotta get my... Okay. Gotta get my questions. Okay. All right. Hi, everybody. Happy birthday, Jason. Happy birthday, Jason. Jason, fun fact, it's also my ex-husband's birthday today. So you both share a birthday, which is quite interesting. Okay, I'm gonna get started in a minute. I'm gonna go ahead and bring Ashley on in a minute, who is gonna be my guest for today. I'm gonna see if I can get like maybe 20 people to come in, and then I'll bring Ashley in. So come on, guys, like the live. Let's see. As the thumbnail said, we're going to be talking about interracial dating today. We kind of touched on this subject a few, like last time I was on a live, and people really liked it. And somebody left me a comment saying that she really liked talking about that stuff. And I was like, okay, let's do it again. So that's what we'll be talking about today. I'm just giving like maybe 20 people to come in, and then we can start. So I was able to get in contact with a subscriber of mine, and she actually emailed me, and she was like, I want to talk about interracial dating too. And I was like, okay, girl. And she was able to kind of set up a time with me, and I'm going to bring her on in a second. This subject is something that I feel that I'm very, very well educated in because I've done it. And I feel like it's such a good topic to talk about. And we will get started in a minute. Hi, Anna. Welcome. I'm going to give it another, hopefully. And I want you guys to like chime in. You guys can give us your opinions too. If you have any dating experience too, let us know. And we can talk. Okay. We're almost there. Only like 4 more people. Hopefully my thumbnail was captivating enough to get people to click on the live. Okay, 5 more people now. Somebody left. Okay, let's just... Hi, Mia. Oh, thank you. Oh, yeah. Okay. 2 more people. Come on, guys. Join the live. Let's talk. Thank you, Mia. Ashley, give me a head nod if you can hear me. Are you 28? 26? 26. Okay, cool. Okay. So I'm gonna have Ashley on in a minute. She has experience with interracial dating. I think she said her boyfriend. Okay. She said her boyfriend is white and she is biracial. So you're basically Meghan Markle and Prince Harry. And that's what we're going to talk about today. We're just going to talk about her experience. One more person. Yay, 22. Okay, we can get started. I'm going to bring Ashley on. Okay, so this is my first time having a guest in this call. So if anything goes wrong, guys, let's just go with it. Okay, let's see. Okay, so here's Ashley.
Hey. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Okay, your lighting looks good. You look good. Your hair looks cute. And yes, thank you so much for joining me to talk about this. Is so cool. I've never done this before.
I've never done this either.
Yeah. Okay. I guess we can both learn from each other. Okay. Let me see. Let me test out like a bunch of. Okay. That's a good one. That's a good layout. I can play with that. Okay. I guess I could just go back between this and this and this. Okay. Cool. So for like dramatic effects, I can change the layouts. All right. Okay, everybody. Let me welcome Ashley. Can I say your last name or do you want to keep that?
Last name's fine.
Okay, Ashley Barrett. She's just here to talk about her experience with interracial dating. And we're just gonna chat away. You guys can leave your comments. You guys can say what you want. Hi, Pika, you made it. And we're gonna be trying not to be how could I say too judgy in the comments about this topic. And just generally my community is pretty nice. Everybody's pretty nice to each other, but let's just be even nicer to Ashley because she is brave enough to come on camera. A lot of people don't want to come on camera, but she's brave enough to come on camera and talk to us. So let's all be nice and judgmental free to her. Okay. All right, let's get started. Okay. So Ashley, let me know about your experience with interracial dating. How long have you been in it? How long, when? Yeah, just talk away. And you're 28?
I'm 26.
26. Okay, 26. Okay, yeah.
So my current partner, we've been together for a year. He is Puerto Rican.
Okay.
But my past partners were either white or Hispanic.
Nice.
And so I haven't dated, I would say, like inside my race. And that's not on purpose.
Yeah.
It just, never worked out that way. My first relationship, my ex-husband is white, and that was definitely an adjustment. I didn't have any preconceived like notions going into my first interracial like relationship. I just, thought it'd be like anything else. I didn't have any like concerns, but I was also just like really young. And then some things definitely came up and like happened, situations like with people outside of our relationship.
Like things that you noticed in the like while you guys were together that you were like, whoa.
Yeah, on both sides of it, like people wondering why I'm with a white man, like people like Black people wondering why am I with a white man, and then also white people judging him for being in a relationship with me.
Yeah.
And
have you been with a white guy ever since him or no? Are you like, no white guys for me?
One other one. And we're still friends with both of them. But yeah, so it was like my first partner was a white man. My second partner was biracial. He was Cuban and white. And then my third partner was white.
Yeah.
And then now my partner is Puerto Rican.
Okay. And you're biracial mixed with?
Yeah. So my mother's white and my father's Black.
Okay. Cool. So have you always preferred to date outside of your race? I mean, the thing is, like, I guess with you, because you're biracial, like outside of your race can be two, or inside your race can be of two ways, right? You can go with a Black guy or you can go with a white guy. Or do you want to be like, oh, I want to date a biracial guy? Like, does that even like, I don't know how that works with like biracial people.
So when I was younger, like I would say in like middle school, like going into high school, I always thought like I would have preferred to like settle down and date a Black man because I had a lot of like internal conflict with my identity growing up. And I was like, I would always think and be like, I don't want my kids to be struggling with their identity this much. And like I had thoughts about things like that, but like as far as like preferences, I really didn't have a particular physical preference. Like both my parents aren't together, but both my parents are in racial relationships.
Both of them.
So I would see, like I've seen them with people of their own race or outside the race. So I never felt like I was particular to a certain one. And I think that was like my preference for settling down, like with a family. I was like, you know, that was ideal, my ideal. And it just never turned out that way. I felt like when I was younger, like the men or the boys I was interested in, like were not interested in.
That's how it feels sometimes. Because you said you've been married, like did you feel, because a lot of people do sometimes feel pressure to like marry a certain race. Did you feel that pressure from your parents? Were your parents like, oh, like you have to marry da 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 da, you have to marry da da da? Like, did you feel that pressure at all growing up?
No.
Okay. Yeah.
And I think it's like with my dad, I mean, of course he dates outside of his race, and he has biracial kids and fully Black kids. And I think he like would still be questioning more so. Like I think there's a little bit of bias with like with him of like asking a lot of questions and like being a little bit more unsure about like my partners, but ultimately like never influenced me to race.
Because when I don't know if you know this, but I was born in another country, and then my when we came here, my mom, I remember, I don't know, I always remember the story. My mom said to me one time, I think she was just kidding, maybe it's like one of those half kidding kind of statements, where she was just like, oh, well, you know, when you get ready to get married, you know, you have to marry a white man. And I was like, why do I have to marry a white man? She's like, well, they're the ones that are doctors. I'm just like, they're the ones that are doctors and lawyers. I was like, Mom, why would you say that? I'm sure there are tons of Black men that are doctors. She was like, no, they're the rich ones. So they're always kind of embedded in me into like, I don't know if that has anything to do with why I date outside of my race, but I always think about that too. I'm just like, did my mom influence me into dating? Into dating white guys or Europeans or whatever. But yeah, let's see. What like, okay, so you told me, what challenges did you face when you were like with your husband, or now? Like, do you have any challenges now?
So my relationship now, I think it's more so, it's definitely more of a, obviously like a culture shock with our families. So that is like really not, it's not anyone is against us or any like bias like that, but it's more so like language barriers, things like that. Because I do often get mistaken for Hispanic, and people assume that I speak Spanish a lot, and I don't. And I'm like, weird. But that's more so now the like barrier, because like I feel like when people outside of a relationship see us, you know, they may assume that I'm also Hispanic. And I also grew up outside of Baltimore, and now I'm living in Florida. So I mean, I feel like there's a more prominent Hispanic population where I live now. So that's not so much of like a concern from like other people having a bias.
Did you get stared? One thing I get a lot is when I'm dating, because my last ex was white. He was this tall white guy, and then when we were always together, we got stared a lot, especially by Black men, and that was always just like, and it was funny because he would never notice, right? Later, afterward, we were walk by, and I'm like, okay, here we go again. And then later I would tell him, like, did you not notice that those Black guys staring at us? He's like, why would they be staring? It's so like, he's like, he never got it. It was like, why are they staring? Like, he doesn't notice that stuff. Did you get stared at a lot, especially with your white husband, or no?
Yeah. And we got stared at. It was like both sides, and he didn't see either of them. Like,
exactly. They never know.
Like, people would be giving him like dirty looks, and I'd be like, did you see that? And I feel like sometimes he almost thought I was like being hyper vigilant or like paranoid. And I'm like, no, I see everything.
We always see it. We always notice. And I don't know why. And I always feel like it makes me feel a little insecure, because I just feel like they're like judging me a little bit. Like they're just like, oh, why are you with this man when you should be with me or whatever. I don't know what they're thinking. But that kind of leads me into my next thing I wanted to ask, was like, do you feel like there is judgment from like other races when you're with your husband, your current boyfriend? Like, did you feel that like judgment?
Yeah, with my ex-husband, I did. And I think where we lived and him being white, there was some more like outward bias. But even with like, I felt like Black men that I would like come in contact with or who would make comments or stare, I feel like if I had any interaction, it seemed like they would make assumptions that I was like purposefully like, I will not date
Yes.
Black men. So they're like, that's their judgment is like, oh, you refuse to date a Black man, so you're with him.
Like it's like you see a Black man, you're like, nope, pretending not to see it, That's not even
And
the
I
case.
think that was like an assumption that I would get from specifically Black men. Like, I never had any conversations with like other Black women about any judgment like that. It was specifically Black men are like, oh, you don't want to date us, so that's why we're judging your relationship. And it wasn't, never like that. And I felt like, he would get judged by
like white
people that had,
or his family even.
And and his like immediate family and like people he was around, I didn't feel that way. But there were times when we were around extended family, there would be incidents or like,
they would say things.
Like they would make comments, and sometimes it'd even be like they thought I would be okay with it. Like, it was just this weird, like, specifically the one that always comes to my mind because it just like scarred me for life was we went to a Thanksgiving dinner with like people I did not know, and they were people not close to him, but we were kind of there by association. And like someone at the table starts like just like spewing hate and like talking and like using the N-word, and not
in front of you,
in front of me. And like he felt like it was okay because he wasn't saying it about me, and because I called him out immediately, and I was like, I'm leaving. Like, I'm going to go home now. Like, this is cool. And then
like
he was trying to justify it because it was like, oh, not you, or like, oh, I'm not like I'm just like talking broadly and like just trying to make excuses. And I'm like, no. And my ex-husband didn't say anything at all. And during
he didn't even say anything. He didn't come to your defense.
No.
There's a reason why he's an ex, huh?
Yeah.
There's a reason why he's an ex-husband. Oh my God, I'm so sorry.
And he should have, but it was also like I think that was his first experience ever being in a situation like that. So I think he also, not that it's an excuse, but like he was also so like shocked and was like, what do you even do? And I'm like, no, you call it out. That's what you do. Like, I mean, I've been in interactions, not in relationships, but like just people being biased against me in general. I'm like, no, you call them out on it. Like, this is not acceptable.
Yeah. That is definitely true. I feel like I feel like if men want to date Black women, right, or biracial women, I feel like you have to learn how to engage and how to interact in situations like that. And I don't want to be the one to train you on it. You have to be able to know what's up, you have to have some sort of education on how to date, especially, I've had friends where they would say like, I don't want to date white men anymore. Black friends of mine, they would say, I don't want to date white men anymore because I feel like I always have to teach them how to not, be in like racist situations, how to talk about my hair, how to be around my friends and things to say. And I'm just like, I feel like we don't have to do that. They should know how to do that, because I'm not here to be your teacher or your educator, especially if you want to date or court women of color. So it's just like so it's kind of disappointing that he wasn't, aware of the situation.
And I was the only non-white person, even like now, like before me or after me, he had never been with another race. So not an excuse on his part, but he just he truly was just not like, you have to be supportive. And you have to know how to be supportive. I can't tell you after the fact that you should have been supportive.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, right. As your husband, he should be very supportive in general and come to your defense, even if it doesn't have anything to do with like racism. Yeah, no, recently I was dating a guy like way back then. He was white, and we were talking about hair and stuff, and he was like, I was like, oh, my hair looks today. He's like, oh, is that like a wig or is that a sew-in? I was like, a sew-in? How do you know what a sew-in is? I was shook when he said it was a sew-in, because I was like, how do you? He's like, well, I've helped my ex-girlfriend take out her hair before. I'm like, you have? He was I liked him, but he was emotionally unavailable, so it didn't work out.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, I always feel like you gotta train up. You gotta train up on some of these men, but I don't want to be the one to do it.
Yeah, and I didn't have that issue with like the second white man I dated. Like, had no issue like that. Like, no, situations like that ever came up with his family. It was just like never even a thought in their minds, I think. So that was like a completely different experience and kind of restored my faith in it, because I was nervous
about going back into dating.
Like after that experience, I mean, not only just dating white men, but just in general, I was like, oh wow, like it's going to be, depending on people's family situations or who they're around, their community, I was like, this could keep happening.
Yeah. Depending. How do you feel about, because my friends, like I have a lot of Black friends, and some of them do date outside their race, but they're always like, I will never date a guy who I'm their first anything, like first Black girlfriend, first whatever. How do you feel about that? Do you think that women should go into it more like, that's not be the first person of color that they date ever? Like, how do you feel about that?
It's hard because I want to say, I can see both sides of it. I want to say no from my experience.
Yeah.
But it's like, I think, if it's it could be the right guy and he really means well and is committed to like, being open and educating himself. That would be great.
Then that would be great. Okay. That's a really good point. Somebody said they had a question for you. Let me see. Okay, Melanie, you can ask the question if you want. Okay, so she said, is it hard for y'all to attract Black men, or y'all consider dating Black men? I'll go first. Is it hard for me to attract Black men? So it's hard for me to attract Black American men. For some reason, they don't see me. A perfect example was earlier today. I was walking to my house and I saw this like really tall, cute Black guy, and I was like, "Ooh, nothing." Like he didn't even. I was invisible. He didn't even see me. He didn't even think I was there. But on the other side, a month ago, I was at a bar and I met this Black guy that was Haitian. And he was interested in me. He wanted my number and things like that. And then another guy that I met while walking down the street, he was from France and he was Black and he wanted my number and he wanted. So it's like hard for me to attract American Black men, but other ones, I think they seem to like me. It's just the American Black men don't want anything to do with me. So that's been my experience. What about you, Ashley?
I would say, I think it's hard for me. Yeah. I think literally the only times that a Black man has showed interest in me is when I'm with
a white man?
A white man.
Another race?
Yeah. And it's been that situation where it's like, oh, I would be interested in you. Like, why are you dating white men type of like, or I feel like when I would feel like that those situations would happen where like, then they'd be like showing interest. But when I've been single or when I've been intentionally like trying to date, I haven't had any interest.
Wow, that's interesting.
And I've shown interest.
Yeah.
It's just not worked out that way.
Wow.
For me.
That's interesting, because I have always had this notion that Black men were really into like biracial or light-skinned Black women. And that hasn't been the case for you?
No, and I would hear that all the time.
Yeah.
Like I've heard that, and I feel like I know other people. Like I've had, my Black male friends growing up. It
Yeah.
seems like, they'd make comments or like things like that would come up, but for me, I was never like that, and I was like, why don't they support
That's
me?
it. I wonder what that, I wonder. That's really
At least
interesting.
they've never told, like, it hasn't been like nobody's approached me or, told me
Yeah.
if they did
Yeah.
want to date me.
Yeah.
But, yeah, and that's the thing is a lot of my male friends were Black men.
Yeah.
But as far as like people being interested in me romantically, I was never approached.
That's wow. You've just opened my eyes because I'm over here like they don't like me because I'm Black. Or
I'm
I'm
like,
dark. They don't like me because I'm dark skinned. That's what has been my notion. But I guess that hasn't been the case.
yeah, it hasn't been the
So
case for me, but I mean, I always heard that too.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
I'm just like, okay, then where's all the interest
Where's
then?
the yeah, where are they? Okay, let me let's see. Would you like if you had I know you're not single right now, but if you had the opportunity, would you date a Black guy? You would, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you would. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. If everything else like that we're looking for is like aligning, like that
Yeah.
would 100% be.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, somebody left a good comment here. They said movie TV buff said they do prefer biracial women. They don't approach you because you look down to us. Just I don't know. That comment.
Well, I will
That
say
comment,
I
man. What
got
do you
clowned
think?
on in school, like from my friends. I would get those comments about like, oh, you act white, and
Same.
so I almost like took that as like, okay, so they don't like me because I act white or because I'm too light or something like that. Like I
Yeah.
um
Yeah.
but then, you hear the conflicting, I feel like the stereotype is like, no, they like, light skinned
They
women.
like they like baddies. Is that what I would say?
You
I
know?
don't know if I'm a bad. Yeah, I don't know. Are you a baddie? I don't know.
No,
Maybe
I'm not. And so it's probably more so individual because
yeah.
I am like
Yeah.
not cool.
No, you're
Like
very
I'm cool
cool.
in my own way, but I guess like
What
what
they're
people
looking
would
for
say.
is not aesthetic wise, they're probably not looking for us. Okay. Mia's coming in with the questions. If you guys have any questions, let me know. I will ask. Okay. So Mia says, "Do y'all think people tend to date outside of the race because it's hard to attract their race versus it if they attract their race or date their own?" Okay. So with my experience, um, I've been told that the reason why a lot of guys like a lot of like the last guy I dated, he's a really good example. So he was European. And he told me that the reason why he likes Black women or why he dates outside of his race is because he, like, being from Europe, he never had access to Black women. And he came here and actually, no, he went to Zimbabwe and he was like, oh my God, they're all so, like, he was like enthralled by us. So ever since then, that's why he's been attracted to Black women for most of his life. So, ever since he like noticed us, I guess, in Zimbabwe. But that's just been my experience. So what about you? Like, why do you think people tend to date outside their race?
It's hard for me to like think about it like in my situation personally, because like even with my parents, because I've
Mm-hmm.
seen my parents date inside their race and outside,
Mm-hmm,
and like
mm-hmm.
I can't identify, like I off the top of my head I can't identify like a reason.
Why? Yeah. Yeah.
Like
It's just attraction, right?
I will say it is attraction, and I will say like my mom
Mm-hmm,
has
mm-hmm.
been with more Black people than white people. And my
Yeah.
dad, same thing, but opposite. He's been with more white
Yeah.
people. I would say
Yeah.
more even, but like it's, I don't know. It's like
Yeah.
they both, I feel like in their dating pools, I guess, had like access to everyone, and like it was kind of more so on attraction. But I think if I had to think like why people typically, I feel like it might be like expectations too of like family. Like if you have a family that's like you need to, like we're gonna have a problem if you date
if
outside.
you don't. Right.
Versus a family that's like, oh, go explore and like find your own whatever you want. Then I feel like, oh, maybe you would be like more inclined to do that.
For me too, it's always been like I go where I'm kind of wanted, you know, where I feel like I, you know, ever since high school, my first boyfriend was a white redheaded man. And sorry, I got triggered just thinking about him. And he was my first boyfriend ever. So I've always been like, okay, well, white men seem to want me. These black boys don't. So I've kind of always been, you know, always been kind of going towards them versus. So that's why I think I do it. But and also I read on Reddit that a lot of some people like to date outside of their race too, because a lot of other people like remind them of their like family members. Like, yeah, and that's what somebody said. I was like, oh, that's an interesting take. Like, you know, you don't want to date somebody that looks like your mom, you know, but that's that. I was like, well, and also a lot of when you date within your race too, I feel like sometimes like when white people date each other, they always for some reason end up looking alike, which is so weird to me. Have you ever seen couples like that, like white couples like that, where I'm like, why do you guys look alike? That's weird. That's creepy. And I don't think that's ever going to be an issue with me, because I don't think I'm ever going to look like my partner if you know, if I end up dating, continue or marrying outside of my race. So, okay, let's see who else has questions. Loving these questions. Okay. Next is movie TV buff says, what is the craziest comment you've asked regarding why you date outside your race? Oh my God, I can't think of one. Can you think of one, Ashley? Besides, really? You just told us. Us.
Yeah, that comment is like, I've had the comment of like off the bat, like not even asking me a question, being like, well, you don't like black men.
Yeah,
so that's why you're doing this, and like more as an assumption. And I'm like, I have kind of been defended myself and been like, that's not quite.
That's not
like,
true.
I feel like, or it's like they'll be kind of more aggressive about it. So I've just gotten smart and been like, no, this is why I'm not dating you.
Yeah,
you're making these assumptions.
Yeah.
But like I never really had anybody question me. About it.
It's always, I would get like side comments like, oh, you don't like us, or you don't date your own. I think I've heard that before. I don't even know what that means, but I don't know. Okay. Mia had a question for me. How would your mom feel if you brought home a man versus a white man? My mom, my unfortunately, my family are not super, super close. I'm not super close with my mom. But my mom literally wouldn't care. She wouldn't care what race I bring home. She would just be like, okay, I guess that's who we're dealing with now. She really liked my ex-husband, just to kind of keep his identity a little bit safe. He was from North Africa, and he spoke French, and my mom spoke French. So my mom really liked him because they were able to speak French together, and that's the so she didn't really care if I brought home a white man versus an African American man. So, but I've never had an experience with an African American guy. So
I've had my family ask me what my type is, though, because I've brought home so wildly different people. My family's been like, physically, this person is the opposite of the last
what? Yeah. What?
Like, what is your type? And I'm like, I mean, I'm
whatever I can attract.
Relationship. Like, there are way more important things on my list than like you have to look this way. You know.
What is your? Obviously, you can keep his identity, safe too if you want. But like, what is your type? Like, is your boyfriend your type, or like? Do you have a type, or are you just
I mean, I feel like I had my type I used to say was like more stereotypical, like, oh, like tall and like all of these things, like that's
Dark
specifically.
hair,
Whereas,
handsome.
yeah, whereas like my my ex-husband like was my first partner ever, and like he's the same height as me, like
Yeah.
not super tall. I mean, he's a handsome guy, but I mean, he's the same height as me.
Yeah.
He like likes tattoos. He's white, brown hair. I mean,
Yeah.
but that was never like that's my type, because
Yeah.
then the next person that I dated was like didn't look anything like him. And even my current partner is actually shorter than me.
Oh, okay.
And so, I went from like when I'm in high school just being like, oh, they have to be like, because I'm tall. I'm 5'8".
Oh my God, you are tall. What?
Yeah. And see, I left a comment on your last live because I was like, I thought you were tall like me.
Oh, that's what. Oh, that was you.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. No, yeah, I remember that. I remember that comment. Yes.
But I'm tall, so like I used to tell myself like, oh no, I have to date somebody that's like 6'3", like so that they're towering over me.
Yeah.
And then it just got to the point where it's like I actually don't have a height preference.
You don't have okay. How does it feel to date somebody shorter? Is it do you even think about that? Do you care about that?
I don't. I think like sometimes like luckily we can joke about it.
Yeah.
Because I feel like I have previously been approached by men who were shorter or the same height as me, and it's like obvious that it's something that bothers them.
Yeah.
And then or like they feel insecure about it, and it's like, well, I can't fix that, so I'd rather just not be in the situation.
Yeah.
But like with my current partner, I mean, he's not insecure about his height at all. So
okay, good.
Like,
okay, good.
We, because like people ask like when we're standing next to each other, they're like, oh, she's taller than you, and he's like, yeah, and we'll crack a joke about it or something. So it doesn't really affect us.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah,
he's just a little bit shorter than me, but
but you have to. Yeah. Okay. It's funny because I've always said my ex was actually 5'8", so your height, and I was like, oh, maybe next time when I start dating again, I'll go for taller guys. And I always tell myself like I want a taller guy so that I can wear heels around him and be all girly and cute around him.
Yeah.
But every time I've dated a tall guy, tell me why I never actually wear heels around them because I don't like heels that much.
Yeah, well, and I mean, I never was in a relationship. I mean, my ex-husband is like the same height, but even he would like be not the biggest fan of me choosing to wear shoes that made me look taller than him. And he wasn't outright like no, but like that was definitely an insecurity. And so like going forward, I was like, I can't have that. Whereas now I felt like I was consciously choosing not to like, wear shoes that made me taller and stuff. And like my current partner is like, no, I love it when you wear heels.
Oh,
and like he's like, do it. Like
he likes women from the Amazon.
So like he hasn't had any issues like that, and so I think that's all it is like being comfortable with yourself. I think it would be really hard to date somebody shorter than me if they had an issue.
They were insecure
with it.
Yeah. Okay, Mia has another question. Okay, do y'all get more pushback from African American or white people when it comes to interracial dating? I have gotten more pushback from African Americans, but again, with the thing about that is that I've always felt like Black men don't want to date me, so I don't know why they get so mad if like if I'm dating another race. It's like y'all don't want me. Why would I, why is it a big deal if I date outside of my race, so that's the issue I've always had. So what about you?
Yeah, I would say it's equal in terms of the amount, but I think it's different, like that experience for me I feel like when I get that from Black people, it's like why, you're choosing not to, you're excluding like us from the dating pool. And I'm like, no, actually. Whereas when it's been from white people, it's like actually just they're racist.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Like, why would you
date outside?
With her? Like, she's like
why?
Black and, you know, why would you when you can do, like, it's been just like more outwardly racist from white people. So like, you know, that's worse. And my experiences have been worse. Whereas it's, you know, the other side, it's more just like, why are you not doing this? Like, I'm like, I tried.
Yeah. Okay, a few more questions. Thank you guys for asking questions. This is a lot of good engagement. Okay, what are some misconceptions people have about interracial relationships? A lot of it is just, like her and I just said. A lot of it is just, why don't you just stick to your, you know, your own kind? Do you have, are you gonna get, some people are like, do you want, some people have told me like, oh, you're just doing it because you want mixed babies. I've gotten that a lot. What else? What are some which is literally not true, but
I think it's that, like, one is just that it's always a preference.
Yes,
because I think like, yes, that's valid to have that to have your preferences, but I think it's like every person, it's like, that is not why I chose that person, because they are my,
for me,
like, that is my ultimate preference.
You know? For me, it's just attraction. Like, again, it's just attraction, you know? Like, I don't know if you heard me talk about this on live, but I have a huge crush on this black tech YouTuber. I would go on a date with him in a second if he asked me. If he asked me, I'm like manifesting it, because I'm like, well, notice me now. His name is Camille HD.
A misconception is that like people that have never been in one, they're like, oh, you can't have like a lot of in common.
Oh,
Where it's like, oh, like, you guys don't have anything in common, or like you may not have things as much in common, and it's like, well, yeah, the obvious is there that we don't have this thing in common. But I mean,
it's like the only thing we don't have in common is our race, but everything else is, you know, is up for it. That's definitely true. That's definitely true. Let's see. All right, Melanie has come back with her question. Why is it rare to see two biracial people date each other? Oh, that's a good question. Okay, let me read it again. It's really good. Why is it rare to see two biracial people date each other in the U.S. when it comes to racial identity? Do you feel you could relate to a biracial man more? Period. That's all you, girl. Oh wait, no. Let me put it up. Sorry, I took it off. But yes, I love that question. Thank you, Melanie.
Because my experience, like, I have biracial male friends.
Yeah.
I've never been, well, I will say, like, one of my exes, he's biracial, but he's white and Cuban. So he's Hispanic and, you know, not black, but it didn't really, I don't know. My biracial friends, like, it just, there was never anyone that approached me. I never was in a situation where I was even like remotely talking to somebody in a romantic way, but that is actually really interesting.
Yeah,
I actually don't know of any.
I don't know either.
Biracial people that are dating each other, and
even like light-skinned people that date each other.
You know,
I don't really see that.
That might be one of those things though, because like when I'm like visualizing a biracial man, I'm like, he might look like my brother.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Especially if they're the same race as you and you're like white and black. Like exactly that because it's like on like is so, it's so interesting. None of my friends, none of my biracial friends have dated. They've always geared towards white men. Like I feel like biracial people normally gear more towards white men. So that is a very interesting question. And then her second part was, when it comes to racial, do you feel you could relate to a biracial man more? That's a good one.
Yeah, I think we could relate.
Yeah, like especially with your experiences,
like our experiences. Yeah, because I have a lot of friends, and that's like, you know, we talk about that, especially like I feel like middle school was like that time when we were all struggling with our identities, because it's like from both sides. It's just like, are you black? You're not white. You're not black. So I feel like I've had that be shared with like friends.
Interesting. That is a very Melanie. Thank you so much for asking that. That was a very good question. Okay, let's see. Pushback always aid people saying why you leave us. Yeah, that's TJ. That's true. Okay, Emmanuel says it's normal to see Europeans. Okay, that's interesting. Yeah, I don't see them here. It's very it's quite interesting. Let's see. How long ago were you married?
I've been divorced. So this is a whole other topic, but I got married when I was underage.
Oh wow, okay.
And I, had permission from my family, and then I divorced over 6 years ago now.
Oh, wow. Okay. Interesting. You're only 26, so you got married at 20.
So no, I got married when I was 16 and I divorced when I was 20.
Why did you get married at 16?
Underage. Yeah, I had to.
Did you? Were you just in love and you're like, I'm in love at 16, I'll just do it?
Yeah, I feel like that's a lot more to with my family's
expectations,
like very traditional expectations. And it was something where it's like, you're not going to, if you're going to be like with someone, because I, was like staying over, I was a little rebellious. So I'm like staying over, I'm like out of the house. And it was more so like an expectation from my family.
Okay. Would you get married again?
Yeah, I would definitely. I mean, for a while, at the beginning, I was like, no, I will never do this again. But yeah, I ultimately do want that.
Yeah. Let's just say that one didn't count. You were young. I always tell myself my high school relationships didn't count. Okay. Like they weren't real. Okay. So Noah asked a question. Ash, if you and your partner wanted to have kids, in what ways would you raise differently your kids comparing the way you were raised? That is regarding intercultural aspects. I didn't know. You guys are asking the best questions today. Yeah. That's a very good question. Yeah. Very grown-up question. What do you say, Ashley?
I think when I was younger, and that was kind of my idea, was like, I feel like specifically for my kids, I had wanted like a family unit where I was like, okay, we're like a Black family unit because of how I felt. And I think I, didn't want the confusion, like the identity issues and everything, because it's like, from other people are telling you, it's like, I feel like it's not so much internal, it's other people telling you like,
yeah,
you're not what, like, it's like you're light, but like you're not white. So what are you?
Right.
And it's more so other people putting it on them. So I feel like I would just be like more outspoken.
If people were to wonder about them.
Yeah. And like explain that, like be more open in communication with my kids, because I feel like my family, like both sides, like I would tell them and they both like just didn't get it because it's not their experience. But I felt like they had no words. It was just kind of like, I feel like they almost like invalidated it a little bit of like, oh no, that's.
Did your family talk about race a lot growing up? Like, was that a discussion in your household at all, especially when you had two different parents?
Yeah, it was definitely a conversation, but I felt like there wasn't really like preparation. It wasn't like, oh, people, I think my dad's side of the family, it's more so like as an adult, even like, yes, I'm biracial, but I'm like, I'm Black.
Right. Okay. Okay. Cool.
I think that like it was hard for my family to understand that when I was younger. Like my white family, when I would tell them that, and it's like, well, that I'm biracial, but when people are looking at me,
they don't
always know, like,
yeah,
especially people that are that are biased or prejudiced. It's like they're not looking at me saying like, you're biracial, so it didn't feel much different to me. And so I feel like that in that sense, I identified more with like talking to my dad about race issues, and we, agree on a lot of things, but he didn't have a lot of conversations. Like he doesn't talk a lot about like preparing. I don't know. It was kind of like I would come after things would happen and things would be said, and then we'd have a conversation about it. And I'm like, okay, wish he would have maybe talked to me because I
before I went out. Yeah, went out in the world.
Yeah, so just like more open and like just being more honest of being like, you may come into these situations and there are people out in the world that are prejudiced in this way. And, you know, that doesn't mean anything about you, but more so conversations like that because I never experienced them.
Right. Okay, Mia has another question. Do you feel related to African American men or white men more when it comes to racial issues? Oh, this is a good one, but it's kind of tough to answer. Do I feel more related? I don't really feel related to any men across the board because I don't really, no, I would say no, just because they're men. I gravitate more towards women or African American women or white women, like just women in general versus men. So I don't really feel like I relate to men much, if that makes any sense. But that is a very good question.
Yeah.
What do you think?
I relate to African American men more, and like the majority of my friends. Now it's pretty even, but the majority of my friends were always male. So kind of my friend group, it was more males than females. So we definitely have related on a lot of things, and especially when it comes to racial issues in America, like have never once related to a white man.
I don't know. I guess if I would have to choose, it would have to be black men, just because I have more in common with them versus white men. I don't know. I don't know what it would be like to even relate to a white man. What the
I've had white men like, have knowledge, like show some sense of knowledge more so than other people. But of course not from, their own experiences. So
I don't. Yeah, I've never. That's a good question.
We definitely experience things differently. Like I definitely recognize, like, one, my privilege of being biracial, but also privilege of like being a woman in certain ways when it comes to racial issues. Like I have fear, but I don't, like even when it comes to like profiling, when I get pulled over all the time, it's like, it makes me uncomfortable and like I am scared, but in the same way, it's like if this were my brother or
it would be different.
I would be scared for their life.
Yeah.
And so like I recognize that, like things like that,
So. In a way, we both still have privilege because we're women. We're slightly more protected, quote unquote, but
like I definitely, it's more so in different ways, like different fears. So it can't relate, in all ways, but definitely relate more.
Yeah. Okay. Liv says, Ash mentioned that she wanted a black guy when she was younger due to identity issues. I'm curious to know what your relationship is like with your dad. Do you feel close to your mom? Oh, that's a good question. Okay. All right, Ash, go ahead.
Well, I'm closer with my dad than my mom. Currently, even growing up, like I don't talk to my mom a lot, actually.
Okay.
So
that would make sense because you literally just said you relate more to black men. So of course, that would actually.
So I'm closer with my dad. I will say, like, what the difference in the sides of my family is that, like, my mom's, the white side is bigger. Like, there's more people in my immediate family, I guess, or that are around me that were always around, more so than my dad, because he has I have a lot of siblings, but in terms of like his brothers and sisters and his parents, like he didn't have those people around. So that was one thing, but I'm closer with him and we have a solid relationship. And I think that was also part of it. It was like, it's like, you don't want to marry someone that looks like your like, but there are qualities, you know, like in family members.
Yeah.
You're like,
Yeah.
oh, like I see this quality in you. Of course, you know, I want those same
Yeah.
qualities in terms of like the
Yeah.
character and stuff, you know.
Yeah.
So I feel like,
yeah, sorry, go ahead. Sorry.
so, you know, I'd have thoughts like that. And I just like in the family unit, like that's how I imagined my family. I was like, you know, my family is, you know, my future kids, like at a certain point, like I was more narrow-minded.
Yeah.
Like, you know, when I was younger and I just didn't have experience dating, but like, that's, you know, just what I imagined. And I think it is probably because I'm close with my dad and my siblings, are also Black. So
yeah. No, that reminds me of when it comes to having kids and stuff too, is like, I like when whoever I end up marrying and having children with, I like not knowing what our kids will actually look like, because you can't really predict that. Because, you know, if once I date out of my race, I like knowing that, because like whenever I see two white like blonde people together, I'm like, oh, I already know what your kid's gonna look like. You know, like you can always, it's gonna be blonde hair, blue eyes, just like you. I just like the unpredictability of not knowing what our kids could come out looking anything across the board, which is, I find that so amazing. I have my niece and nephew, their parents are Black and Mexican, and they both came out looking so different from each other. And I'm just like, oh, I mean, they kind of, I'm sure you look somewhat like your brothers, right? Right. But it's always just because like my kids could be like, one of my kids could be super dark skinned and my other kid could be super light, or my other kid could be like somewhere in the middle. So I find that more fascinating than like dating somebody within my race. And I already kind of know what, you know, our kids would look like. I find that more interesting, but maybe that's just me. Does that make sense?
yeah. And even like, I know we've been talking more about Black men, but like my current partner is Puerto Rican and he is similar skin tone to me. And he also has curly hair and like is more similar. And like, that almost makes me like feel like I'm like, okay, great. Like my kids are also like, they're not going to lose their curls. They're not going
to lose their curls, but they are going to look different.
They're going to look different. And who knows what that, you know, will look like, because also, you know, it's so diverse in Hispanic communities. Like his mom has completely straight hair. And his dad is dark skinned. And has curly hair. And so like, you know, and even I feel like it's less divided in like the Hispanic community of like, it's not a specific category. Like, I mean, like I know colorism will like still exists in those communities, but it's not like you're Black and I'm this. It's like, we're all Puerto Rican. We're all
right.
You know, it's less of, you know, they don't necessarily use like as many terms to
identify as much.
Okay.
Mia has another question. How did your mom's family feel when she brought home an African American man versus a white man? Did your mom ever date a Black man?
So my mom is white and so she's dated white men and Black men.
How did her family feel?
I think like from what I know, I think my mom's family was surprised because this, like, my mom is the only person in her family that has and still does like date outside of her race. Like her current partner is like Black, dark skinned man. But you know, seeing it now, it's been so many years, of course, since that she's had these experiences, but like her family is completely you know, has completely accepted everyone. But I think it was definitely more so of like a questioning at first, like probably the first time that she because I think my family has like, at least my older family members, they have some like concerns about how they're perceived by other people. So I think that was probably something that my mom experienced more so than I do.
I mean, like interracial dating now in 2024 is definitely more acceptable. It's not as like, out of the box, but I can imagine dating, interracially like 20, 30 years ago. I can't imagine what that must have been like.
Yeah, but I've never been
So,
told that she like outwardly like it wasn't acceptable or anything
yeah,
negative. I
yeah,
think it
yeah.
was just more so of like, really? Like we've never
This
experienced
is,
this before.
yeah, this is happening. Yeah. Okay. Me now says something. As an interracial girl of your, please, for the love of, make sure you love yourselves and culture before making babies with each other. Yeah, okay. That's a good point. The ideal should be followed by anyone that has babies should be, especially for there's a baby making. Yeah, I agree. I agree with that.
I think that also like this has not ever been my experience,
Mm-hmm.
but other people that I've known, I think other biracial people,
Mm-hmm.
I think they've experienced almost like prejudice from their parents.
Mm.
Because I think like in the experiences I'm recalling, it's like, their mom's white. They had a baby with a black man, but they're not
Mm-hmm.
fully like supportive and accepting. And so they
Mm-hmm.
end up that translates to their kids because their kids
Mm-hmm.
grow up and it's like, you're a black man
There's,
standing in front of
yeah,
me.
yeah.
And like I
There's
have
resent.
biases still, and I'm like putting them on you.
Yeah,
And so I've heard that from people, and it's like, yeah, I mean,
you got to be
so
careful.
you have to be very
Yeah,
intentional who you have.
children with.
Like, I cannot ever say
Yeah.
that line. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
you can't always control people's extended families, but like
yeah,
even like their own like
yeah,
mom or their own dad, it's like you have these internal like things that you have not worked through yet, and you're taking those things out on me
onto, yeah,
because
yeah.
I'm a person of color and like yeah.
Yeah, I've also had friends who say that they'll never date certain races because they're known to have families that will hate other races. One example is like I have a friend that said that she won't date like an Indian man. And because it's been known that Indian men's families are very much like, you got to be with an Indian woman, you got to date only Indians in this house, and so they're not very accepting of other races coming into the family. I've only heard that from my friend. I don't know how true that is, but it is interesting to know that that also can play a part in your dating, because like if your partner's family doesn't like you because of your race, that's going to be a huge problem.
Yeah.
So you definitely be intentional.
That's like that has been a thought of mine before, but I think
Yeah.
ultimately it hasn't concerned me too much. And I've also come into a little bit of that for being a different religion from
Yeah,
like
that
some of
too.
my
Yeah,
dated family. So like
yeah,
they didn't even care about my race. It was like the problem was like, oh, you are not like a devout like follower of our religion. Like we
yeah,
immediately don't like you. And I'm like,
yeah,
I don't want to deal with anybody's family that's gonna be
yeah,
extremely unreasonable, and that like my partner is not going to
yeah.
like step
That's
in to make this comfortable for us.
yeah,
I
yeah.
think.
I think also the partner does have to make it, like prepare prepare
Prepare,
your
set
partner
boundaries,
family.
hold
Yeah,
boundaries with their family.
yeah. That's
Yeah.
true. Okay. We're gonna take a few more questions for Ashley because I don't know how much time she has, so we gotta let her go soon. But and then we're gonna wrap it up. Okay, so don't touch my hair, love your name. That's funny. How did you deal with political differences that have been arisen within the relationship? For me, I don't think polit I live in a very liberal area of the country. So a lot of my politics have always been aligned with people I've dated. So it's never been like an issue. Like my recent ex, he was a super liberal man. So that's never been an issue. I just I don't gravitate towards anyone that's not liberal, so that's never been an issue for me. What about you?
I haven't really dealt with a lot of political differences. Like the
Yeah.
only thing I can really think of is like maybe me feeling very strongly about certain issues, maybe more so because I'm
Yeah.
Black, and like them not really, it's not that they didn't, it's not that we were completely, different opinions or anything, but just like, I'm so passionate about this, at certain
Mhm.
times. And like my partner was just kind of like, I don't care either way,
Yeah.
more so because it
Yeah.
wasn't personal.
Yeah.
But like as far as politics, like they've been aligned.
They've been, yeah, that's never been, even my ex-husband, he was super liberal. And, there were times where I had to be like, Black Lives Matter, right? He's like, of course. I had to check him a little bit just to see what he would say. But otherwise, I've never had an issue with politics in my relationships. And if honestly, if that ever ends up being a problem, I would just say next. I'm not dealing with anybody that's gonna have a different, because that's super important to me. You know what I mean? Like that's super, super, super important to me. And that's one of my biggest deal breakers. If you're not aligned with me politically, no.
Yeah.
Okay, for me, a question for me, Mia. Why are Africans taught to bring home white men and Black men? What is taught in African home for African Americans? Um, well, okay. So when you are back then, like 20 years ago, I came into this country in 2000, right? And during that time, there were certain stereotypes about being in America, right? Being in America in general, because a lot of countries, a lot of foreign countries think that America has all the money in the world, which that's probably true. And success here is easily obtainable. They're super rich, and a lot of that has to do with white people, and they think that it has to do with white people. So they think like all the white people are rich, all the white people are have a lot of family legacy money. And also another thing is that a lot of the stuff that's shown on TV all over the world when it comes to from America, it's always white people lawyers, white people doctors, white people this. And then of course Blacks, they're shown and on TV as being, gangsters, rappers, guns, this just the negative stuff when it comes to Black men and being on TV. So I think that's the notion that they have across other countries, is like white men are the ones that are lawyers, doctors, like all those high engineers, all those high end jobs, versus Black men. I think that's why my mom probably made that joke a couple of years ago, because she probably thought like you're probably better off with a white man because they're the ones that quote unquote make the money versus Black men.
Yeah, I haven't obviously haven't experienced that, but I think that it makes sense that if they perceive like white people
white men
having the privilege, then they want their kids to have more privileges.
Exactly. Yeah. Go towards the race that has more privileges versus, versus Blacks. It's just a stereotype, Mia. It's just a big old stereotype, especially in other countries. Yeah. Yeah, that's it. Let's see if there's another question. We'll go for another minute. And then Ashley can go about her way and we'll end the live. Let's see. We'll go to like 1:10, a minute 10. Do you ever fear being fetishized while dating? You can go this time, Ashley. Sorry, I went first every time. Sorry about that.
Yeah. I have felt that, but I fear it. I fear it because I've had white men, like that's their line. Like from the beginning, they give me this idea. Like I did the dating apps one time.
Yeah.
For like a few months. It was awful.
Oh.
Like my experiences personally were like not great. But there was one specifically I can remember where like from the very start of the conversation, a man was like, oh, like I really like want to have a family like with a Black woman, like off the bat, and then had like casually dropped in there at some point that he already has mixed kids.
Mm-hmm.
So he already has at least one kid with a Black woman.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, why are you leading with this? Like,
Yeah.
I was instantly out. But it's like, well, yeah, I don't want, like, I get preferences.
Yeah.
But I mean, if you're leading, you know, with that,
yeah, it's
if you're
weird.
leading with like, oh, I want, like, you don't know anything else about me. You're like, oh, I want to potentially date you because you're Black. Like,
Yeah.
or
That's
if someone said because I'm biracial, it's like, that's instantly a no for me. And so
that's
I've never actually been on dates or, you know, have had those experiences, but like people have shown me that they do that. So
yeah, no, it's possible. I told this story in my last live, but I don't know if you heard it. I when I first moved here in 2020, I was at a taco shop and I met this Mexican guy. He was pretty cute, a little too young for me, but we started texting, and he said that one of the first things he ever said to me, mind you, we met that day, right? The first thing he ever said to me was, I've always wanted to make love to a Black woman. I was like, block, delete, exit. Let's never talk again. I freaked out and I didn't talk to her. I was like, nope. That's, and in my head, I was like, well, you'll never make love to one now. Cause he literally said, quote, I've always wanted to make love to a Black. Like, why do you have to say it like that? Like, what? Like,
well, and that just shows that they're not like mature enough.
Exactly.
They're not, like, they don't have enough awareness to even know that's not okay. So then I already know.
Yeah.
You can't, like, no, you're not an option.
I'm not the first. I will not be the first ever for you to do that with. Go find another one. And maybe don't say that.
I feel like if you're just dating and like it comes up at some point later on that like, oh, like it has been my preference to, like that's okay. I can acknowledge and accept that. But like if you're really heavy on it, where it's like it has to be
a Black woman.
It's just it's
creepy. It's uncomfortable. It's creepy. Okay, Jason, do you have a sister? Oh, wait, who has a sister? Her or me? I have a sister, but they're both married with children. So I actually do have a sister.
My sisters are underage.
Okay,
I'm the oldest.
Jason is always trying to pick up women in my lives. He's really funny.
One day he'll get lucky. You'll bring somebody on. They'll be like, actually, I do have a sister. You should meet her.
What are the days that times were lives, or is it? Oh, yeah, I don't know yet. This was my first time doing a guest live thing, and if people like it, I would love to bring more guests on. Okay, one more question. Do you get scrutinized for dating outside, especially if they're a white man? We've kind of already answered this. Yeah, sometimes, yeah, but we get through it by looks. So, like, like looks, stares, things like that. But we kind of answered. I know you just came in the live, but we kind of answered that. Okay. Any other thoughts, Ashley? Any other thing you want to like? Let's say that your sister, because you just mentioned you have little sisters, right? Let's say in the future they come to you and go, Ashley, I've been like trying to date this Black guy, not the white guy. Any tips for me? What would you tell her? What tips would you give your sister when it comes to dating outside her race?
I think I would just make sure they advocate for you. Mm-hmm. Like it's more about the type of man that they are. But I feel like especially if you're going to, because I have younger sisters who are fully Black, and then I have sisters that are biracial.
Okay.
And, so it's like, no matter what, especially if they're white, like you have to know their character, know that they're going to support you and that they're going to stand up for you. Mm-hmm. And like they're gonna make sure not only are they gonna like treat you like deserve to be treated, but they're gonna make sure other people do. They're not gonna like let people,
Yeah. Okay.
So I think that's like advice I would give, but and like watch out for the people who are like, oh, you're the first Black woman.
Yes, exactly. Tell her that too. Like if a guy says you're the first anything,
like just be weary. Yeah.
All right, cool. Thank you for that. Thank you. You were my first like live guest. What do you think? Okay. This is fun, right?
Yeah, it is fun. And I was nervous because I have never
you're such a natural. Like, you're good at, like, you were very responsive to my questions, because sometimes I get worried, because I know people get really nervous about talking, and, like, especially if it's a live format. So you're a natural at this. So good job, Ashley. Thank you so much for even wanting to do it. I know we haven't, like, we emailed a few times, so I wasn't sure how this was going to go either.
Yeah. Well, I watched your channel. So
Yeah.
as soon as I saw that, I'm like, I mean, I've never done a live or been on before, but I will.
Yeah.
I'm not opposed to it. So
for volunteering.
And I like having conversations. I like the conversational stuff.
Yeah. So. Yeah, if anybody's watching and you also want to, I don't know what my next, what do you think my next topic should be? Do you have any ideas? I don't know. Maybe that's what I'm going to ask my guests. It's like, tell me my next topic.
Yeah, I think, like, people probably would have good ideas.
Okay.
For that, but.
Can you think of anything I could talk about? Nothing too. I don't think I want to talk about anything too controversial, because I don't want to sit here and talk about Biden and Trump.
Yeah. Do you like talking about, like, in depth about, like, relationships specifically, or?
Yeah, of course. Yes. Because that's what I'm experienced in, I think, out of everything. Yeah. So yeah, if you guys have any ideas, I'm gonna make another post. If you guys have any ideas, let me know. Maybe I'll come up with one in a couple of days. And then if you guys want to join the live, if you liked what you just saw, maybe you guys will join and come talk to me too, because this is really fun. So thank you, Ashley, for joining us. Everybody give Ashley the clap emoji in the comments, please. She did such a good job. So thank you. This was really, really fun. Come on, guys. Give her a clap emoji. They're not doing it.
Thank you.
All right, I'll give you one. I'll give you one while we wait for. Yay. Jason did it. Thank you, Jason. Thank you again. All right, we're gonna end the live now, because I think we're definitely going over, but I'm gonna try to keep these like to an hour. But we're gonna end it now. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. Okay, there's one. We got a hand. Okay, good. Okay, they're coming in now. I'm like, come on, guys, don't leave her like hanging. Thank you again, Ashley. You're awesome. Thank you for talking to me. I hope you have a good day. I hope everybody else has a good day. Thank you for joining. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Bye.